Good.
Hello.
Hey.
Can everyone hear us? Can you hear us?
Hello.
Oh, yep. Good. Everything working?
Is anyone there?
Is anyone out there? Welcome to our live stream.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah. Oh, people are joining. That's excellent.
Hey. Welcome.
Oh, wow.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Who's out there?
Lots of people. Oi. Hey. Hello.
Hey gang.
Welcome. Well,
oh my goodness. Wow.
yeah, so you can just keep on saying wow a lot. Welcome, hey. lots of friends here so far. It's really nice to see you all. You get to see the inside of our lounge room.
Yeah.
The dingy old chair and the new chair, as we call them.
It's our studio
basement. It's not the studio basement, it's the lounge room.
It's our secret lair.
Secret lair. Yeah, so I guess this is how we're going to do this. We did promise an AMA. So ask some questions. We've got the live chat going, which is nice. Can't guarantee that all questions will be answered accurately. But no, please ask some questions. We'll do our best to answer them. As well as we'll just talk about some general history stuff, and as well as whatever rant someone manages to get me on, which is really the experiment.
Almost inevitable that there'll be a rant.
Yeah, there will be a rant. Okay, dingy old chair and new chair equals sounds like my front room. Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, everyone has a dingy old chair. This chair was rescued from the pavement in Australia, and it's so well loved. We actually shipped it to New Zealand, and it's that good. It's that good, and I recently I didn't reupholster it, but I recently restored it. I recently repaired the webbing in it, which it's that comfortable. Yeah. So there's a bit of history of this chair. Yeah. The threadbare chair.
The real word is whakapapa, is that right?
Yeah, the whakapapa of the chair.
Whakapapa of the chair. Yeah.
Whakapapa, which means the story or the history. Yeah.
So.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's a bit of reo or Maori terminology for you today. So yeah, we should just say kia ora.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. Nā mai haere mai, which means hello, welcome. Yeah, that's a bit of reo. Yeah. Everyone loves an old chair.
That's all we got.
That's all we got. Slowly learning reo.
Very slowly.
Very, very slowly. Yeah. So any questions? We'll kick off the AMA, and then hopefully I'll end up in a history rant.
Thanks for sharing that crafty in theory. Yeah. What kind of chair did you have? I'll be glad to hear about that. I love old things.
Yeah, we all love old things here.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll just wait till any questions come through, and
yeah, we don't really have an agenda today. We just want to have a chat with you guys. And
normally my agenda is just to talk about the guilds.
Always the guild. Oh, here we go. Crafty in theory says, rescued from an old hotel. Why did you gravitate to the time period that you did?
Oh, well, that's a good question. And then
Crafty in theory, thank you.
Oh, we've just dropped our mic. Good question.
Good job.
Sorry about that.
That was me. It's always me.
It's always ruining all of the sound issues.
I'm the enemy of tech as well.
Yeah. Okay. So sorry about that. So Ocean's not allowed near the microphone.
That's a very serious
rule. So the first thing is, why did I gravitate to the 14th century? That's a really good question. The first reason why I gravitated towards the 14th century is so much is going on there. There's amazing things happening in the 14th century. It's arguably and I'll argue about it forever. The beginning of the Renaissance, and the beginnings of modern trade, and the introduction of many parts of our society that we see today. There's a lot of interchange between the economic systems of feudalism ending and the beginning of the early modern and the modern period, and particularly the Black Death, sort of speeding that all up. So there's a lot of things happening there. We also see the end of things like the beginnings of the end of chivalry and the beginning of modern warfare, with such things as the infantry revolution, which I will be doing videos about. They'll be very interesting. So lots of interesting things there for me. And it's also the beginning of modern fashion. Yeah.
Fast fashion.
Fast
one
fashion
could
as well,
argue.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's me. I'll let Ocean talk about that one.
I'm a kind of closeted 12th century enthusiast, because who was dragged into the 14th century by this guy. But yeah, similar reasons. I was easily persuaded the 14th century is extremely interesting for those reasons. I came to reenactment and living history, I guess, because I came to it from a textile and fashion history background, and so that's kind of the lens I view it through. And 14th century is super interesting from that perspective. As Andrew said, it's the beginning of fast fashion. There was a lot happening, like the changes in politics, and I guess geopolitics, and economy, and society really influenced the textile trade, and the textile trade in turn influenced those things. So that was, once I would familiarize myself with what was going on there in the 14th century, I became more and more enthused about that period. Yeah. But 12th century, you never know, it might end up there at some point in the future. You didn't hear that, Andrew?
No, I did.
No.
I mean, I did. 12th century is really interesting.
Yeah.
12th century is super interesting.
And it's not really a period that's covered very often by reenactors that I know.
There's some really cool ones.
Yeah, I mean, there are, but like, it's not, you don't hear about it as much as, say, the 14th century.
Okay, we got a question from Erkin. Oh yeah, well, we know. Why am I like this?
Great question.
Great question.
Don't know.
Don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you like this?
Yeah. Why are you like this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cotton.
Yeah.
Hey, great question from Faith Sterling.
Guild Gent does strike again, but it's all about the guilds, really. But yeah, Faye, you ask, what is more fun to
We should
rant
go back
about?
to the guilds, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is more fun to rant about, guilds or cotton? Geez, that's a hard one, because like both are not talked about. Both are largely ignored by the, I'd say, the reenacting community at large. And both are really important to pay attention to when it comes to understanding context of the medieval period. Cotton industry in medieval Europe has a really interesting place. And if we ignore the cotton industry and cotton textiles, then we're being anachronistic. And just throwing the baby out with the bathwater and saying cotton didn't exist, we all have to wear linen and wool, is
no cotton
is silly, because we're shooting ourselves in the foot, just as much as ignoring how trade and the guilds had a massive influence on all parts of society, especially in the late medieval period, and how the guilds essentially created the modern state. Well, that's a huge broad brush, and if someone knows what I'm talking about, will get really cross at me. But you know, was really important about. Well, some good questions here.
Yeah.
But just to go back to my statement
Some
there,
spicy questions.
the guilds were so important in creating the modern state and influencing warfare, and influencing the end of feudalism. It can't be ignored. So, but also cotton. Gosh, dang it. You can't get. I'm not going to be drawn into a rant. Not yet. We've got questions. Oh yes, CS. Yeah, 12th, 13th century period.
CS represent.
Yeah. You guys ever did content on that period? There's a large stable of UK high medieval reenactors. Love to see. Yeah, look,
Yeah, man.
like the 12th century Renaissance.
Can I take this question?
Yeah, please.
I was just going to say, like, one of the particular areas of interest for me is like the white ship and the anarchy. So the UK early 12th century or early to mid 12th century, really interesting for me. Yeah, thanks for the comments. Yes, pass it over to Andrew.
I've got a bugbear when it comes to Arthurian legend.
Oh yeah.
About how Arthurian legend is actually like there's no King Arthur. There never was, and it's entirely written as an allegory to recreate a state. Oh man, once again you get me in a rant, and it's not time yet. But it's an allegory, intentionally written post restoration after the anarchy to say, well, here's what the anarchy did, and here's a story that we all can look at, and why should we have good kings, and why tensions within civil disorder is bad, and good kings are good, and bad people who create revolution and disorder are bad, and mythologizing. So yeah.
So I guess that we were talking the other day about like the whole demonizing of strong feminine leader, like Morgan Le Fay, and making a hero of the strong masculine leader. Stephen, we were saying Stephen is like a parallel for Arthur. Yeah, and so on.
Yeah. Anyway, one day. So next one.
What else we got? Great questions.
What's
position on HMB?
HMB. Yes. Well,
do you want to go first?
I'll go HMB. HMB is well, I think that HMB exists because there's much about reenactment that cannot offer or doesn't offer that very avenue to people who want to do what we would call biffo.
Yeah.
Just want to go out and do biffo.
They just want to hit each other.
They just want to hit each other with swords.
And that's cool.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
It's not something that I personally want to do. I've got lots of friends who love to do it. Is it historically accurate? Should they put the H in front of MB? No, not at all. Is reenactment fighting historically accurate? No. Really? Is HEMA historically accurate? No. And I teach HEMA and I practice HEMA. No, I don't think anything really is. I see another comment there about HMB. New rules are turning into the way of reenactment. Yeah, I've seen the recent guidelines, and they are coming more into line about having your kit more accurate. But until HMB thrusts to the face and isn't glorified wrestling, is it historically accurate? No. just as much as HEMA, which don't get me wrong, I love HEMA. I love sports combat. It's also not historically accurate because it doesn't fight to tournament rule, like, you know, medieval tournament rules. So, yeah, that's a good point. HMB is a new sport with old garments, and HEMA is an old sport with new garments. Well, I think it's contextualizing something for a modern audience and a modern need, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's like trying to say that people playing gridiron today is a historical sport. It's not. It's a completely different beast. You know, it's changed over the centuries. It feeds a different need. There's nothing wrong with it. People want to do it. I don't demonize. It's just not for me. Absolutely not for me. I really applaud the authenticity community trying to get people to be more authentic. It wouldn't harm the community to appear to be more authentic. That might upset some people who are happy to, you know, put on, you know, leggings and minimal armor and go out because that's what they want to do. And you might see a split from the community because of that, because people just want to go out and do biffo, and that's why they left reenactment combat to go do hardcore biffo, because that's what they wanted to do in the first place. So it'd be really interesting to see what the split from that is, or if there is one, because it feeds the need for people just to go out there, put on armor and hit each other. And reenactment didn't provide that need. And that's why I exist in the first place.
Can we move on to some other?
So we'll go to some other questions.
Started my portrayal of medieval fantasy place, jumped around. Do we miss anything?
Okay, this phase trying to like troll us. I love you, Joel. I love your work.
Yeah.
Okay. Started my portrayal journey in medieval fantasy place. Then I jumped around period clothing. Last few years, I moved on late 14th century, early 15th place. Oh, yeah. Who doesn't love Burgundians?
Yeah, it's good stuff. And yeah.
So we've got another question. What's my position on LARP? That's the same thing. Like LARP provides a place for people who aren't interested in reenactment. And some of the LARPs are
I love LARP.
Super accurate. I love LARP.
LARP's great. I don't do LARP, but like I really appreciate people who do LARP and what they do. They put so much effort into it and they have such a good time. And for some people, it's a gateway into reenactment, and that's great.
And for some people, it's a gateway out of reenactment, because but not in a bad way, because it's not providing. It's not providing to them what they're looking for. You know, they enter into reenactment because they're looking for something to express this yearn to present a fantasy idea for reenact. You know, for their
like a medievalism.
A medievalism. You know, they read Lord of the Rings or watch, you know, movies or whatever else. And they go, oh, that would be brilliant. I love that. And they enter into reenactment, and everyone's like, no, you can't wear elf ears. You can't.
Can you be historical, please?
Yeah, we just want historical stuff. And then they go, oh, I'm not allowed to be an elf or a dwarf. That's not cool. And then there's LARP, and oh, wow, that's awesome. So it's good. I think all the communities should be closer because
these are complementary. Like they're not necessarily competing. We should all be friends.
We should all be friends. Where are we up to? Yeah, there's someone that says LARP is great because you can wear a cattle hat without fearing for your eyes. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Oh, cool. Me and a few friends have been working on a reconstruction of a small 14th century tournament. Yeah, that's really awesome. There's a private tournament that I went to, didn't fight in at the time in Australia. It's a very high accuracy foot tournament, private tournament in Australia. And I was a marshal for that. That was really cool. I love that. So that's really cool. Love to see that type of stuff. Okay.
Did we miss any just up a little bit?
Yeah, I loved your series on the guilds, and thank you for all the links.
Thanks for the compliment.
Thank you.
Good to know people actually enjoy those.
Yeah, let's say. Another question, SCA.
Yeah, cool. Good question.
Good question. All right, the SCA.
It's like the SCA. It's like such a huge organization that it's like trying to describe a huge thing in a few words. I haven't had a lot to do with the SCA, so I don't really know much about them. Mostly, I think my direct interaction with the SCA have been pretty positive. Yeah, and they provide a really good outlet for people who want to do a variety of different things. Some people can be super accurate in the SCA, and there are a lot of really good resources that are generated by the SCA, like really deeply researched, highly accurate stuff. And then there's also a place where people can go to do more fantastical stuff, a bit more loose in terms of historical accuracy. They can just be more expressive. And then, they've really safety focused, which I really like. That's good. We want to keep the community safe. I'm going to mention the I'll just leave it there. Yep. SCA good. SCA good, but probably not for us. We have hung out with the SCA and been members of the SCA, but like we don't spend a lot of time with the SCA.
Yeah.
There.
I mean, it's a monolith.
It's
it's international. It's huge. It's a monolith. Like, you can't really move without touching them in the community, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Okay, so I'm going to say brain hats because Faye really wants that to happen. Brain hats. But yeah, SCA is okay, but help create the monster that is Lemon Viking. I mean,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, but there's a lot of things that we could, criticize the SCA for. The monolith of the bureaucracy, which I'm against.
That's what I was going to say. I didn't know how to say
it. That's something that I guess can be a bit of a bit of a issue, but
that does also help create a safe environment, though, which is a positive of it. But anyway, to you.
I guess that's something that we personally struggle with because we're iconoclasts, and we tend to be fairly individualist. But it works for other people. Some people like hierarchies and order, and and are all about
we're anti-hierarchical rather than like anti-collectivist.
So, it's got some cool things. My older brother is currently creating fantasy universe for his RPG. Introduced to you guys, and he's loving guild stuff.
Right on.
Real life economics and politics is I mean, but that's cool. Having an understanding of like how medieval societies operated is super interesting, at least for us.
There's some good questions.
And then brain hat, Hernhalb.
Is that another word for it?
Yeah, brain hats. What was the primary challenge for reenacting Europe-based history when you're not in Europe? Right on. I mean, at least in I don't know, in Canada, you've got European species of things. So I guess one of the biggest issues, and I'm actually going to be talking about a little bit in next week's video, stay tuned, is that reenactment is anachronistic. Unless you're participating in like a living history village, or you're doing something like American Civil War and you're like on a battlefield, or you're a woodsman or something like that. You're actually doing things that are often not analogous to what medieval people or whatever you're presenting did. You know, we live in tents when we're on a reenactment event, and unless you've got like a medieval village or a castle or wherever else,
which we don't really have here.
We don't have the definitely didn't have it in Australia, and
well,
you know, most of our
not as you would understand it in Europe.
Yeah,
you know.
So a lot of the time we're doing, you know, we're cooking over campfires and just buying all the, you know, filling our tents full of everyday living things, which medieval people wouldn't have done, just to facilitate our ability to reenact. So I guess the question is, why are we okay with overlooking that? I think it's something that we as reenactors have to have a look at. So there's a lot of that's one of the really biggest challenges, is just like facilitating that reenactment and minimizing the anachronisms that we just have to do to be able to just reenact. When living in Australia, for example, just and even in New Zealand, one of the biggest issues that we have is just getting supplies from things that are accurate to the medieval period, like particularly in Queensland where we lived, having access to wools and European timbers was really difficult.
Faye Sterling brings up a good point. The weather, living in the southern US, the weather. Yeah, that was a big thing in Queensland.
Yeah.
Like the weather was just scorching, and just getting by in a hot climate, wearing wool, finding wool, once you found it, wearing it, not being allowed to wear linen outer garments at most events. It's like
yeah absolutely. Dealing with the heat. Oh yeah, okay, I didn't know Shad it was had bought a field. That's really cool.
Oh wow,
that's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, that's something that we
wish we had the money.
Yeah, we wish
to do that.
Yeah, that would be great.
Go Shad.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah,
it must be nice.
that would actually be really awesome to be able to do that. You know, just to have a space.
I believe there are people locally who are doing things like that too. But it's not. It's only for reenactors. It's not for the public. There aren't a lot of events here where people do historically accurate reenactment and the public are invited. So that's something that I really miss, being in Aotearoa, New Zealand, as opposed to Australia.
Yeah, so that's I guess that's
I was going to say reenacting in a non-European country is really strange. It feels weird. Kind of. It feels weird because the reason that I do it is one of the reasons I do it is to help teach history. And this is, I guess, it feels strange because sometimes it feels like I'm taking up space that could be used to teach other history, for example, Indigenous history, but that's not a space that I feel comfortable being in. Obviously, it's not my heritage. I'm not Indigenous, so so it feels a little bit uncomfortable sometimes. So something to think about for me. That's how I feel about reenacting. Yeah, but I think it's important to try to represent history as accurately as we can, because misrepresenting the medieval period is fraught as well. So trying to represent it accurately is really important. Because we live in nation, we have lived in a nation, and we now live in a nation that is colonized, and that's really that brings with it a whole bunch of baggage. So that's weird and uncomfortable. Yeah that's what that's like for me, since you asked.
Yeah, it's very difficult for it's a very difficult thing.
And we obviously don't have access to museums with a lot of European artifacts that we would like to have. We have to travel a really long way. Back in the olden days, when you could travel, we would have to travel a really long way to go see museums. And so a lot of the things that we have access to are online books, which are often extremely hard to get. We have to pay a lot of money in shipping to get them. So we kind of really rely on usually free online resources to get information. So scale is sometimes a bit of an issue, because not every photograph or description has a sense of scale to it. So that can be a bit of a problem. And a lot of information is locked up behind a paywall. So that's interesting. And we don't have that kind of the cultural understanding that comes with living in a place. Although we're I guess European backgrounds way back, or not that far back in some cases. We are people of this place.
Yeah, we've got our own culture.
We have local culture, and we don't have that immediate connection to a European culture. We're removed from that by some steps.
That's
I think I'm done with that topic. Sorry.
Some great insights. We've got some people talking here about, like, one thing that Australia and Canada share with medieval Europe. No, you're on the mic. Get off the mic.
Christ.
I told you. One thing which Australia is one thing which Australia and Canada share with medieval Europe, which modern Europe and New Zealand don't have, is a lot of land and relatively few people. Yeah, well, I mean, New Zealand has relatively few people, but not lots of land. We have lots of land, but most of it's like very vertical.
There is not.
No, it's not a lot of land.
A lot of land per person.
No. And the land that we have is mostly volcanoes. And actually garrisoning a castle like we can do in Europe is amazing, but our medieval counterparts still probably look quite strange. Yeah, like that's the other thing. Like, sitting in ruins. That's the other thing. Like, it's an anachronism. Medieval reenactment Scotland. Well, it's the same here in Wellington. Like, it rains and then suddenly there's sun, but mostly just rain. Like, my family's ancestry is Scottish, and for some reason all the Scots fled or left Scotland and then came to New Zealand because it was like Scotland. So that's a weird thing.
Rainy.
Rainy.
Cold.
Sun and then snow. Would we consider ourselves literalist reenactors or interpretive reenactors? Oh, well, there's a video next week about that. And would you expand on what you think the pros and cons of being one or the other? Oh, good question. Well, so I'm an interpretive reenactor.
I'm not really sure what that means.
Well,
What do you think it means?
well, I've come to this conclusion.
Like the question.
Well, I'm an interpretive reenactor. So the pro of being an interpretive reenactor is that when you look at art or resources, you're not taking the literal point of view of the information. You're interpreting it through the lens of allegory or the mythos or the culture, the material culture, and the minds of trying to understand it through the minds of the people.
Yeah.
And the pros of that is that you're trying to remove as many anachronisms or let's call them false positives as possible. So when you're looking at art, you know, is a hat just a hat? You know, is that the hat of the guild, or is it like, is it meant to symbolize something? So it's looking for the symbolism and removing it if it doesn't actually make sense.
Yeah, that's us.
The pros, yeah, but the cons are, then you're spending far too much time researching. That's definitely you're shooting yourself in the foot. You're collecting more and more data. You're excluding things. Yeah. It's just a slog. It's a slog.
It's like
so much work.
So much indecision.
So much indecision. And obviously the literalist looks at something and goes, "Oh yeah, they've got that hat. That's a hat.
I'll just make one.
I can see it in." I mean, you know, and it still involves academic rigor. I mean, you know, they go, "Oh yeah, I can see that hat in like 3 different images and like 3 different books or 3 different manuscripts. Yeah, I'll make it."
Yeah.
So I mean, and then they make it, right? So that's a pro. The con is they haven't thought about like how are medieval people interpreting that thing. That hat that they've just made could be that hat is only ever worn by jesters,
or it's only ever worn at weddings.
Or, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Potentially misrepresents
what
they're trying to portray.
I mean, just like party color, right? Party color, you see it represented, but it often is in art representing people who are foolish or what's that word? Frivolous.
Yeah.
Or
frivolity.
Or frivolity.
People at parties.
People at parties or young. Yeah. So it's not to say that party color didn't exist, but what's the context? Like, we don't know. Musicians often wore party color in art.
Or perhaps livery. I think I've seen it in livery.
Yeah. So like, should we be wearing party color? Like, or should only young people be wearing party color? Or is this some form of symbolism?
Or in some periods, it seems to have been in fashion.
Yeah.
So it's appropriate for like that period for fashion for certain kinds of people. And then later on, like maybe 30 years later, nah, only if you're this kind of person, or it's used in artwork to represent someone foolish.
Yeah. Just like a certain type of art, like depiction might be showing up 30 years later than it normally would, but it's used as a device to say, well, this person's old-fashioned, or someone's grandpa, and you can't just look at it and go, oh yeah, well, they were still using it 30 years later. It's like, well, no, but if you look at this person, it's an old person. It's a device. And that's why I'm interpretive. Yeah. So I mean,
he said for me.
So we've got a question. Any events you are looking forward to in 2021? Oh boy. Oh well, I don't know if we're looking forward to it, but
we're looking forward to it. Yeah, I mean I am.
Yeah, we've got an event in February, which we've overextended ourselves for, as is the way. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
Yeah.
There's your pop culture reference.
There you
go. Yes. No sneak peeks now. because we don't want to make any promises where people will be like, oh, but you said.
That is not the way.
And then you failed. Ha ha. Ha ha.
Not mentioning any
Not
names.
mentioning any names. So that was, but we're working on it, and if we're able to pull it off, you'll see, and it will be amazing. It may involve the militia, I'm just saying, and it may have a brain hat.
There may be hats.
There may be hats of the guild, but it would be good if it pull it off. Also, I'm involved in a online conference, like a week later, talking about swords. So that's going to be really cool. Really excited about that. I'm doing a talk called "Good Guy with a Sword." That's not politically charged at all. I didn't name it like that on purpose. But I mean, it's talking about like medieval violence in the city, and the idea that like people with swords, and how medieval people controlled violence in the city, and people carrying swords and how they did it. So that's going to be pretty cool. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Sorry, I just had to burp.
Oh jeez. We're just gross. We're just
super professional.
Yeah, just professional people. We're just gross.
I'm just saying that natural.
Yeah, just natural.
It's welcome to Popula Urbanum.
Yeah.
A channel where we bet. So likewise, I'm looking forward to the festival where we'll be doing something. Shall I name drop? Shall I name drop?
Oh, sure. Why not?
Yeah, it's Levin Medieval Market.
Yeah.
So that's one of the public facing medieval events in Aotearoa, and should be fun. We went last year, which was just before lockdown, I think, and just before things got a little hairy. So that'll be fun, I hope. Yeah.
That's where we did our pilgrim impression last year.
Oh, yeah, that's right. If anyone has followed that. I don't really know of any other events that we're planning.
No.
That's about it. Yep. We've got lots of plans to make things. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, one step at a time. We'll see how events pan out. Yeah. Don't really want to make lots of plans at the moment for obvious reasons.
Oh, actually, the person that asked that question was Matt Lazak, who's running the conference. Sorry, Matt, I didn't notice that. I apologize. I'm really looking forward to your talk.
Yeah.
So excited.
Yeah.
So excited. How
funny.
Yeah. It's just stream of consciousness. It's happening.
Lucky you mentioned it.
Yeah, it's like, oh wait, that's the actual dude. What's the most common type of? Okay, what
is the term for the most common type of reenactor? The literal copier or of interpretive reenactors?
Literal copier. Oh, I don't know what you mean. What is the term?
What is the term?
The literal copier of interpretive reenactors.
The literal copier of interpretive reenactors. I like it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right.
I think I understand. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's like,
that's right.
I mean, but is it wrong though? I mean, here's an unpopular opinion from Unpopular Urbanum.
That's the alternate name for our channel.
Yeah, Unpopular Urbanum.
Unpopular opinion.
Is it wrong to like look at someone and go, well, that looks right by what I know, that person knows their onions, to copy what they're doing?
Yeah.
Unpopular, unsub, like just like 1,500 subscribers back to 1.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
But
fun. Like, yeah. So, I mean, it's difficult because someone will come to you for like advice and say, "Oh, should I do this?" And you go, "Oh yeah, no, that's yeah." I don't know. I'm pretty sure I did a video about it. Sorry, it's an inside joke. It's a joke for home.
It's a home joke.
It's a home joke.
Just for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Artistic devices are hard to decipher sometimes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A question: how did we get into your period of interest? So we covered this at the beginning of the video. Sorry you weren't here for it. But
will this stream be watchable afterwards?
It will be watchable afterwards.
Yeah. There you go.
But how do I get into it? I actually started in a lot of other periods. I started dabbling in Iron Age Celts and did Romans and things like that. But actually a really good friend of mine got me into the 14th century. And he said, "Oh, 14th century is best century." That's a bit of a joke, but he actually did say, like, "Look, this is 14th century. It's really interesting." He's the guy who taught me how to armor, and I fell in love with the 14th century from like a combat perspective first, and then from there I learned more about it in more academically about the society, and I'd never left. Yeah. And then I made Ocean a convert. I convert everyone because it's
I was gonna tell a really dirty joke there. Just keep that.
Keep it clean. Faye asks, so Andrew, you and I were talking about media that got us into the hobby in general last night. So you have anything that could point to as an influence to doing this as well, Ocean?
Yes. I voraciously consumed fairy stories as a child. So it wasn't the typical Lord of the Rings. It was I'm just trying to think of some titles. I think I read a lot of, and I don't even think this was medieval. It's like Grimm's fairy stories. Although a lot of those stories have kind of, as I understand it, like evolved from old folk tales, some of which could be medieval, I think. Can I just think about that for a sec? Well, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I talked about like reading Lord of the Rings and fantasy books in general. Oh, look, I'm just going to.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna actually talk about something.
Here's
a rant.
It was Ursula Le Guin's Sea Chronicles or whatever the cycle is called. Yeah.
So good.
Oh, yeah,
So good.
and also there are other works, but like just not super medieval, but yeah, loved it. And there were others too, obviously. Yeah. I just thought that one had the most clout.
Yeah, that's it. It's so good. I was actually talking this morning about fantasy and stuff, and just myth in general, and Beowulf, and why Beowulf was, because I read Beowulf when I was younger as well, but why Beowulf was so fantastic, and why I love it, because it's one of those awesome pre-Christian myths. I mean, and obviously it's been reinterpreted somewhat in media through the pre-Christian lens, but post-Christian lens. But I love it because it doesn't have that struggle of good versus evil, which a lot of later medieval myths have, of like there's a good and there's an evil, and the good must defeat evil. So even like all the characters in Beowulf are just shades of grey. So like why is this character here doing the bad thing? It's not because they're inherently evil. It's like they're all just kind of
human.
Well, yeah, human. Like they're just. Well, I mean, even the monsters are just getting revenge or victims of circumstance, and that's why I love it, because it doesn't have that yeah, it's more, I guess it's more relatable to like human experience. And that's why I love it. You know, it's like, oh, so why is this troll attacking your castle, your hall? Oh, well, I don't know. I couldn't possibly know. But you know, it's this whole entire cycle of revenge, and that's so good. Yeah, victim of bad neighbor. Well, it is, right? It's like, well, what happens when you like just do dick stuff? Why do dick moves and bad things happen to bad people? But it's not bad people. It's just humans doing dumb stuff and having to suffer the consequences. And like even Beowulf is like the victim of his own hubris in it. It's so good. And he's meant to be like this like super cool champion guy, but it's so good. I love it. It's so good.
I think Faye hit the nail on the head. They're victims of bad neighbors, which is literally what we were talking about this morning.
We were talking about it. So I was talking about like banging on my neighbor's like door in the middle of the night because they're like hammering at like 11 o'clock.
It's always at 11 in the evening or 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, that is.
But if I catch you.
Yeah, if we get you.
We have swords.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. The doors of Herringot better be strong. I'm just saying. Yes, that is the jupon. Yep. We've done a swap. I'm making it. Oh, we're going to talk about that later.
We swore we swore that Andrew was going to do this jupon, and I was not going to touch it because I made an oath that I would never ever hand sew another of these freaking things. And then I was made an offer that I couldn't refuse. So here I am. Yeah. And I'm loving it.
She loves it because I'm going to make a coffer instead.
For me.
For her. And
I can't make coffers, but I can make chiffons.
I won't have time to make the jupon and the coffer. So. Free at last. Yeah, the saga continues.
Nice choice of words.
Yeah. So yeah. Any other questions?
Oh, I like how that question about the jupon was framed. That's very good.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Wow. I think this has been.
Did we miss any?
Did we miss? I don't know.
Maybe people are sick of us.
The mimic reenactor.
We're nearly our hour is nearly up anyway. So.
Mimic reenactor.
Yeah.
I think this has been a fantastic first live stream.
Yeah, everyone's been really fun and really good contributing. Great questions.
I've been
challenged.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it is a good. Well, I mean, I think. Yeah.
Hopefully, I haven't been too offensive.
No, I didn't. When will I next be online? I will. Good question, Ilva. I will be online to this afternoon, our time, New Zealand time, 5 p.m. New Zealand time. I will be doing a live stream of Among Us. Whoa. Ilva's going to be on Twitch. Would you like to talk?
There's an event that we'll be looking forward to.
Yeah, that's something we'll be. I'll be badly playing Among Us because I've only played it twice, and I don't lie. I'm not a liar. Yeah. No, it is the old switcheroo of crust. Faye and I'll just tie this up, this promo. So Ilva the Red will be running on their Twitch stream today, 5 o'clock New Zealand time. So it's 11 a.m. almost New Zealand time. I don't know. I'll do a promo. I'll do on all the social media and stuff. But I will be doing a Twitch stream. I will be playing Among Us. Come and watch me be ridiculous. It's basically just me doing this, but playing a computer game. It'll be great. So please join us. It's going to be fun. It's a whole bunch of medieval reenactors and the medieval what we call the medieval small tube community. So it'll be myself, it'll be Faye, it'll be Eldon. Eldon's here as well. They're from Company of the Staple. It'll also be the Turnip of Terror. We may get some other new people. They'll be really cool.
All the cool kids.
All the cool kids. Oh, shall we be in our costume?
Ooh.
Yeah, well, I'll wear my chaperone. How about that? I've got my history blazer on. Yeah. Yes, costumes. Yes, costumes.
Yes, good call, Faye.
Yeah, craft. Yeah. Oh no! Oh, you're cool. Yeah, you're cool. Everyone's cool. Everyone's cool. So we've got some other things here. Thanks. Is there a video on how to sew a chaperone?
Yes.
Did we do a video on how to sew a hood?
Did we do one?
Yes.
Didn't you do like an entire series of videos about it?
No, not yet.
Your green hood?
No, I just showed basic rough. No, we haven't done one yet on how to construct one. We will be doing one.
Okay.
So soon. Soon.
There are
at some point
videos that talk about like some vague talk about constructing a chaperone.
Yeah.
And I do a video about making, like, draping a fitted hood for a feminine style, like a buttoned hood, which could be adapted to a chaperone, but it's a little bit different. So if you want that, we could try and put that together for next year.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Writes it down.
Yeah.
And loses the piece of paper.
Yeah.
But not on purpose, obviously. Just because I'm disorganized.
Yeah. Do we have any info on the leather hood fragments? No. I know someone has recently reconstructed that. But no. When I saw that reconstruction, I was surprised. I had not even known that it was a thing. So I was like, oh, a leather hood. That would be uncomfortable.
If anyone has, yeah, it sounds like a rain, like a Macintosh type of thing, like a, it's raining, I'll put my leather hat on.
Yeah, I believe it might have been used by shepherds.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
of the medieval hunt. That's right. So that, I mean, it's interesting. I'm not saying that. Yeah, so that's the first I'd heard about it. So I was like, oh, that's really interesting. So,
if anyone has that hookup, please drop it somewhere where people can find it. Do we have somewhere where people can post that sort of thing?
I'm actually thinking about creating like a Popula Urbanum community where people can actually participate more, or just join our Discord, because that's where most of our interacting goes. I hate Facebook, everyone. Facebook is just like the worst.
A little bit of a dumpster fire.
But I'm fairly active on the Discord. So join our Discord. It's fun. It's where fun dudes are.
I don't like fun, so I'm not there very often. I would love to be on the Discord, but I find that it's just a little bit buzzy in my ears.
Yeah.
Hurts my brain a bit.
Well, that's a good point. Thanks everyone for popping in. We're actually going to wrap up. Look, we're probably going to do this again. We might make this a regular thing. This was actually really enjoyable. See, this is the thing. Once people get me start talking, I can't stop. So I think it's best to call it here. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you,
have a really enjoyable weekend if you still got a weekend. Stay safe. And I don't just mean that because that's our catchphrase. I actually do mean stay safe. There's a lot going on in the world. We're well here in Aotearoa, but stay safe. Look after each other. If you don't hear from us before the holidays are up, happy Hanukkah as well. but yeah, stay safe for the holidays. And we've got one more video coming out next week. And then we'll be taking a break for till the 10th of January, I think. That's what my brain wants to tell me.
Something like that.
And then we'll be back with our most controversial video yet, which is going to be awesome. So stay tuned, but take care. Thank you so much, everyone, for your support. We really appreciate you popping over, and see you soon.
Kia ora.